episode 4 from Then to Now, the series where we take both WWF and WCW from 1992 all the way up to the modern day. In this episode we've got episode 4, but it's episode 2 of the WWF side of this game. And we got two big matches on this card because we may only be in episode 2 for WWF. But we aren't holding back. We are in a wrestling war in this universe. And we are going to fight for it. On both sides, actually. So our two big matches today see Bret Hart and the British Bulldog team up to take on the Mountie and Roddy Piper. As well as Hulk Hogan teaming with Randy Savage and Sid Justice to take on the Undertaker, Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels. That's the sort of big stuff you get in my WWF. So, if that's the sort of stuff you like, make sure you go check out last episode where we booked the second episode of WCW featuring the Stinger getting into a massive situation with the Dangerous Alliance. And of course, if you do want to see more of this save, make sure you subscribe to Phantom TEW for more from Then to Now content as we try and push forward to the modern era. So, this episode, as I said, got a big start, and we're going to open it with a long promo. And I mean a long promo. It's essentially the setup for the main event. Hogan comes out, then Savage comes out. Then Flair, Perfect, and Shawn come out. Then Sid comes out. Then The Undertaker and Paul Bearer come out. And it's this massive cascade of people getting bigger and bigger. And 85 for just Hogan, and 75 when Savage gets involved. 67 when Flair, Perfect, Sherry and Michaels get involved. And a 67 as well for Sid, Taker and Bearer coming out. And it is just people explaining why they're going to be the ones who win the Royal Rumble this Sunday. As I said, it's just a big-ass promo. It's just a big stacked roster. Probably one of the most stacked rosters of all time. 92. Look at that. Like that main event scene. And of course that doesn't feature people like Bret, Piper, Bulldog, who are in the other main event storyline of tonight. Does make you realise just how stacked WWF is. And how shallow the main event scene in WCW is. Considering our main event, spoilers if you haven't seen it, in 3, 2, 1, was Barry Windham versus Cactus Jack. You know, not the biggest of matches compared to the 6 megastars that are going to be in this main event. Gets a 70 rating. We get our one storyline match that we didn't mention earlier. As a quick victory for Rick Martel. Gives us just a quick storytelling match. I was originally just going to do this a big show where the only things on this card were going to be angles and those two matches I mentioned. It was going to be a creative show, something a bit unique. Just a card entirely focused on two massive matches. But in the end, I didn't want to sacrifice either of them to be the storytelling match, because I think both of them could be phenomenal. And neither of them are really telling a story in the match. So, we went with this match. At this point, Noble Bossman against the dastardly Rick Martel. It's an easy story to tell. We can pull it off quite simply. And I'd hope that they did. A 69 implies that they did. We continue the Jimmy Hart saga as a third team joins the fray. Because Jimmy Hart has a lot of clients in this universe. And the other two are the Nasty Boys. So basically you get this massive spat of all three of these teams. These massive men, lest we forget. I think the smallest of them is at least 6'3", 300. Everyone else is bigger than that. But so these massive men, and then there's tiny, skinny Jimmy Hart in the middle. Completely cornered on all sides by these 6 behemoths And it just does to show, what has Jimmy got himself into? Is there a way out of it for Jimmy Hart? Is there a way to get this situation sorted for him? We got our first of our big matches as Bulldog and Hart draw with Piper and Mountie. We get a double DQ. It's the 90s. We're allowed to get away with a double DQ every now and then. Of course we are. Get a big double DQ. Bulldog gets a 65. 71 for Bret, who's the best in the match. 68 for the Mountie, who, new game, still massively underrated. Still pulls out phenomenal ratings for me. And a 66 for Piper. There's a reason we kept this Mountie Bret storyline going for months. But a 67 wrestling, a 63 crowd in front of a white hot crowd gives us a 74 rating. Gains heat on the IC Gold storyline. I'm happy with that. We get an interview with Sergeant Slaughter. He's chatting to Gene Okerlund and he gets interrupted by a combination of two of the factions which I did in the last game. It's Hacker and the Barbarian, who are in my Samoan faction, or Islanders faction, and Mr. Fuji, who of course was the leader of Fujigoon. We're sort of merging those factions for this game. Hacker and the Barbarian are going to be the first members of this iteration of Fujigoon. And they're interrupting Sergeant Slaughter. And I'm going to make something very clear here. I enjoyed it. I had fun with it. But there will be no boot camp in this game. At least not in 92. Maybe 5 years down the line when Slaughter's fully retired, we might think it'd be a fun little thing to bring in. A bit of an homage to the originals from then to now. But there will not be a boot camp straight away. Because this isn't a copycat save. We're going new directions. So Slaughter is actually having a feud. Which I don't think he did once during the first save. We then get a promo with Animal and Hawk. And essentially, they're being slightly dumb baby faces. Just slightly. Because they've decided, okay, the three of you can't seem to decide who gets the shot. Well, we trust ourselves. Next 3 weeks on Superstars, all 3 of you get title shots. Simple as that. You pick your order, we will put you all down. Gets a 59, decentish promo. It's them being slightly dumb baby faces. It happens, especially in 92. We get an awful 2-minute angle just to try and get our lowest ranked storyline on the show. The Beverly Brothers and the Genius cut a quick promo to the camera talking about how the Bushwhackers are degenerates and represent everything which is wrong with the world of wrestling. They are not intellectuals. They just use their body as their weapon when they do not understand that the mind is the greatest weapon of all. And Jameson, the dimwit, is not enough to lead them anywhere. Whereas the Genius can lead the Beverly Brothers to the glory of the WWF Tag Team Champions. And we will obliterate you to get there. 45, it's dreadful, but it's what you expect. It's the Beverly Brothers versus the Bushwhackers. What were you expecting? This is your life segment. And the main event gets an 80 rating. Savage and Flair are the top 2 performers in the match. Kind of to be expected. Hogan as a quite distant third, actually. But a step above all the others all together in the mid to high 60s. But it's another draw because, yes, it's the 90s. I get to do them every now and again. Even if that every now and again is twice on one show. Now, shush. So 74 wrestling and the 79 crowd. Again, it's just the referee just loses control. Calls for the bell, ding ding. As we get this big brawl, and of course we get the classic spots of everyone throwing each other over the top rope, basically going, "Ooh, this is what you've got to do at the Rumble, guys. Come on." It's your classic stuff. Everyone knows it. It's not really anything groundbreaking. Actually, no, at this point probably would have been groundbreaking. And we'll have Hogan standing tall. Because of course we will. We get a 68 overall. We don't quite have enough storylines. We're probably close. But it's disappointing we didn't get there with both companies in 1 week. But we will try again next week and see what happens. Let's move on to the B-shows.
Rick Martel claims he will win the Royal Rumble. El Matador Tito Santana beats Greg Valentine. Sid Justice runs down Hogan and Flair, says he will win the Rumble. The Texas Tornado beats Repo Man with Shawn Michaels watching from the crowd. Jake Roberts is the latest to claim that he will win the Rumble. There's a lot of them. Jimmy Hart accepts Legion of Doom's challenge and say his men will punish him and make them regret it all. The new Foundation beat local wrestlers, the future Big Vito and Nunzio. Roddy Piper runs down Bret Hart and challenges him to a match at the Rumble. Overall, we get a 61, one of the better B-shows we have booked with a lot of Rumble hype. Wrestling Challenge: Barry Horowitz picks up a shock win over El Matador. The Berserker beats Skinner in the Weirdo Battle. Shawn Michaels taunts Hogan and claims that he will be the youngest to ever win the Rumble this Sunday. Earthquake won his own, implies that he and Typhoon will get first shot at LOD. Who respond by laughing. Mr. Perfect hypes up his client Ric Flair as the true world champion. It's a Piper crazy promo. It doesn't really have much point, he just targets Bret. Virgil teams with the new Foundation to beat Repo Man and the Bushwhackers when the Genius distracts the Bushwhackers. Randy Savage and Elizabeth talk about their plans for Savage return Rumble win. The Warlord beats Papa Shango, quite easily. And we get a 54 overall, slightly worse than the other B-show, but again a good Rumble build. Okay, back to Human Phantom now.
And so that is the end of episode 4 from then to now and episode 2 of the WWF 1992 save. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below. And I promise you, things will only get better from here on in. As next episode for WWF is the Rumble itself. We'll have a WCW episode first, and then we've got the Royal Rumble. I'm excited. I hope you guys are too. I'll see you then. Goodbye.